Slack.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Namaste. Welcome. We are very, very excited today because we have one of the most highly anticipated talks of this month's schedule at Diabesties. My name is Jazz, and welcome to Diabesties, and welcome to our very special guest today, who is the initiator of Diabetes Control Month, June as Diabetes Control Month. He requires very little introduction because everyone in India, in the world, associated with diabetes, not associated with diabetes, knows him. Dr. V. Mohan, thank you so much for coming and being with us today and talking to us today about this conversation about control. So we're very happy that you're here, sir, and thank you so much for taking out the time to do this. There has been apprehension for the last few months because of all the COVID madness, I'm sure you know. And all of us in all the patient groups were very sort of pleasantly surprised with this June as glucose control, as diabetes control month. So I would just like to start off by asking you, how did this idea come up?
Yeah. So, Jazz, thank you first of all for the kind introduction. It's always a pleasure to work with you. I know you're very enthusiastic about this, and I know you also through you reach out to a lot of people with not just type 1 diabetes but all diabetes. So, from the early days in Wuhan, the first thing that we learned February 2020 itself, and the first publication came to hardly not even started in India. That time, the first publication from Wuhan came out in China. That the death rates, that time the death rates due to COVID-19 was about 2.3% in the general population, and it was 7.3% in the diabetic population. So that is the first time that we never, being a viral infection, nobody connected it with diabetes. But that was the first report which said that, you know what, people are getting into hospital and ICUs and dying are people with diabetes. And then the mortality rate was 3 times higher. And of course, if you have diabetes and you're above 80, 85, it was like 10%, almost 10% of people died. So when the first death rates came out, they picked diabetes and surprisingly they picked hypertension at that time. Later on, it turned out that obesity is an even bigger risk factor or as big a risk factor as diabetes. Hypertension kind of went down a little bit. I was a little surprised. Why should hypertension kill people due to COVID of all things? But there are other things like respiratory disease and things. But then diabetes is coming up again and again and again. And then we had the data from India again, looking at the mortality, who is doing worse, who are the people who suddenly deteriorate. People are doing well, 3 days, 4 days, okay, it's all over. And then suddenly, people with diabetes, uncontrolled diabetes, they get into hospital, they're gasping, they think, and very often they die. So when it started, it was a wake-up call for me. And then what happened was the next series of events which happened in the story. At that time, what we used to do, even as doctors, first thing is go for the ventilator, and so you can imagine how many ventilators were produced in April, May, and so on. Then came the information from Italy that it's not the ventilator problem, it's not the diffusion problem in the lung or something, it's not due to pneumonia that they're dying. Some kind of clots were forming. So they started doing autopsies in Spain, in Italy, in US. And then came the news that it's actually clotting of blood which is taking place, something going wrong with the inflammatory system. Then came the recovery trial in August, September, where they said if you give steroids, you can actually stop that hyperinflammation or what they call the COVID storm. And that led to dramatic decrease in the mortality. People are not needing ventilators anymore, and all those ventilators, actually half of them went waste. And so actually the mortality started increasing. But now a new problem came. Now we started with high doses, and the dose of steroids were quite high. So those who had diabetes, their sugars went for a 6. Even if they were controlled, they put on so much of steroid, it went for a 6. Now, those who didn't have diabetes, pre-diabetes, latent diabetes, on the verge, borderline, something, they get pushed into severe diabetes. So we started seeing cases coming with 400, 500 blood sugar. Very often we found also that in these, I don't blame them, but they don't have a diabetologist in the team. They have a respiratory person, they have something else, they have cardiologists, they have intensive therapist and a infectious disease specialist, but not a diabetologist. So they pump in these steroids, and then when they're good, they go home, and then they're not told to reduce the dose of the steroids, and the sugars went very, very, very high. And people coming and saying, I didn't have diabetes, no, I've got 500 blood sugar. And I just tell them, oh, maybe it's due to the steroid. Let's taper off. Did they ask you to taper off? No, they didn't ask me to taper off. I said, come on, we have to taper off the steroids. You can't go on like this. So we used to taper off the steroids. Sugars used to come down. In many of them, it reverted back normal, but in some it didn't, because that steroid was enough to push them into permanent diabetes. They were kind of waiting for a fuse to go off, and steroid was at the last straw on the camel's back, as they say. So that also happened. Then I started saying, hey, this connection with diabetes is getting worse and worse. First we talk about people dying due to thing. Now due to steroid, it is coming. So the connection between diabetes, the nexus between diabetes and COVID-19 is getting stronger and stronger. Then the last straw was in April, May, when the second wave came. India was taken a bit of surprise by the whole second wave. And then started coming this new thing about mucormycosis. Now that was deadly. This is a deadly disease. So people losing their eye and losing their nose and getting cut up and all kinds of things. And if it enters in the brain, you definitely die. And the treatment, and there's not enough antifungal drugs. And everybody focusing on that. Let's get amphotericin B. Let's get this. Let's get that. Then when we looked at the statistics, among the 14,000 cases or so reported in India, 95% of them had uncontrolled diabetes. That is when actually it came to me in a flash. I was talking about mucormycosis somewhere in a program like this. Suddenly, this brainwave I got. What are we doing? Diabetes is the underlying cause. And I've not found one person, one association, one diabetologist saying, hey, let's make this is our job. We have to get on with it. So I said, why aren't anybody doing it? So I said, okay, if nobody's doing it, I'll do it. Okay, that means this is the time to do it. So I immediately announced. The moment I announced, some people wrote to me and said, hey, don't make June the diabetes month. Yeah, November is already the November World Diabetes Day, November 14th. I said, I'm not talking about making it permanently. I'm saying in the next 2 weeks, we have to act to save our people. I'm not making a celebration and let's call it as World Diabetes Day. It's not a celebration. It's saving lives. Come on, let's get on with it. And we don't have time. And it can be 2021 itself, June 2021. I'm not saying every June we celebrate this. I'm that you make it for November. But November is so many months away. By the time so many more mucormycosis, so many more deaths would have come. I said, not even July. June, let's start. Doesn't mean that in June you can't go on to July. But I said something you have to tell people, that give them a wake-up call. See, when November 14 comes, everybody thinks of diabetes. So when you say June, control diabetes, this is what is going to help you. Then, oh, okay, I haven't controlled. When did you do your HbA1c last? Oh, 1 year. I haven't looked at it. Why? Why haven't you looked at HbA1c? So June control month. Go and do it. When did you, how many times checking your blood sugar? Oh, I check only on fasting. Why? Why aren't you doing other things? Have you done have you put a sensor? Are you seeing throughout the day? Do you know your time and range? No. Then there's a time to tell people about time and range, So if you do all these three things, get your fasting under control, postprandial control, HbA1c below 7, and your time and range, then I think we'll break the mucormycosis cycle, because there's no more uncontrolled diabetes. And then about steroids and so on, now's the time to push. Let them put the steroid, doesn't matter. But we'll hike the insulin to match it so that the sugars don't go up. That's a side effect we don't want. So that I thought the most obvious thing to do, and yet nobody was doing it. So the moment we started, people like yourself and your association, Diabesties and so on, took it up. And then one by one, people started supporting. I also support. Then it became a movement. That's exactly what I wanted it to happen. No personal credit for me. We're controlling diabetes in Jodhpur or, in Aizawl and Mizoram or somewhere. How does it help me? It doesn't help me in any way. But people will be benefited. So that is why I thought about it. And I think it was the right thing to do at the right time. And I'm glad it worked out.
Oh, it absolutely did. And I think that's such a detailed explanation about the reason. And I think when people understand the reason, they'll understand the importance. And Dr. Mohan, you're saying only 2021. I think we should declare it yearly. I'll tell you why. Because June comes right in the middle of the year. So it's such a good wake-up call. Like you start the year with your resolutions and everyone forgets resolution. So June is that midpoint of saying, hello, boss, get your thing back into range. So congratulations, sir.
Because our December New Year resolutions would have gone, and 6 months down the line, and now we have got still November to come to pick it up again. The next resolution will come after World Diabetes Day. Oh, I have to think about my diabetes. That's the point. Yeah.
I think the midpoint.
One more thing. The June is also the World Yoga Day, and yoga is so much to diabetes. So why not?
Why not? So I think this is a one that has to stay for years on. We have November 14th, of course, but we have June as get it back into shape, get it back into control. Good. So I think, and all of us have sort of done a lot of exercises, webinars, our type 1s and so on to say, these are the ways to control and stuff like that. So, okay, of course, COVID is one of the biggest reasons, but just generally, I would like to know from you, in your opinion, what is the general sense of control of diabetes in India?
We have data on that, Jazz. See, what happens is the initial data came from clinic sources. So, for example, my own clinic, which is large, of course, 500,000 patient electronic records, we know over a period of time what has been happening. And it's not that great, because of worst control patients come to us. Then in 2001, with the help of Novo, we did a study called as the Diabcare India study, where we looked at, across India, we had the top diabetes specialists, endocrinologists from all over India. We asked them to serially take patients, not a biased group, but let's say 100 patients from each clinic serially as they come up. So no bias. And then we'll report what is the mean A1C across India, what is India's score. It turned out to be around 8.7 or something, plus minus 2, something like that. So we said, this isn't good, and we have to start working on this. Unfortunately, 10 years later, 2011, exactly 2001 and then 2011, we were hoping that now, with all the medicines we have, all the latest things we have, all the webinars we have done, all the conferences, all the noise we have made, we are going to get a very good figure. We were very disappointed. It actually got worse. From 8.7, it became 8.9. Because there are so many more new cases added, so many people are undiagnosed were there, so you add all them, and this is not undiagnosed people, by the way, this is in people who are actually taking treatment. So it turned out to be 8.9. So we're very disappointed. What happened 10 years? What did we guys do? Sense of guilt almost. All these conferences, and then it's actually our patients are not doing well. The results are not showing. So then, there was a criticism saying that, what, these clinics may be very good clinics. They may be the best diabetologists, best endocrinologists. But you know what? The worst controlled patients may be going there because others can't control. So they may be getting referred to these guys. And therefore, you have picked the wrong population of patients. And that's why, if you really, India is not so bad, So there's only these guys. So is it fair enough? I mean, it's a fair enough comment. But, there were also guys who were supposed to have brought down the sugar and still we didn't do it. So then we did the INDIAB study. The INDIAB study, as you know, Anjana is the main person behind this, but it's in India diabetes study funded by ICMR, Government of India, Ministry of Health study. Whole country, we studied the whole country, every state, representative sample. We go to people's homes, villages, urban, rural, and we have the data for every state. In fact, we've written up a report card of India, including HbA1c, cholesterol, blood pressure, diet, all this, and we have actually submitted it as publication. Anjana just submitted publication, and many of our friends are collaborators in the study and co-authors. So there, what we found was all over India, including in the the states where like Kerala and all, where you think healthcare is really the best, literacy is 100%, Goa, small place, you'll think you can easily get it right there. No way. Everywhere the control is poor. So what we saw in those clinics was exactly the same as in India. Rural India even worse, but urban India no better. And places like Chennai, we always say Chennai is the diabetes care capital of the world, first diabetic clinic in India. We keep boasting about it. No better. Chennai is no better than Delhi, or Delhi is no better than Mumbai or Pune or Ahmedabad or anywhere. All are bad, So we said, this is not good, and we have so many people. And then also the rule of halves, Jazz, I think you know what the rule of halves is. So rule of halves is true for both hypertension and for diabetes. Rule of halves says half the people in a country or in a community don't even know that they have it. So suppose you have 100 people that have 50 don't even know that they have it. Okay, now the other 50 who know that they have it, are they taking treatment? No, only 50% of them take treatment. Other 50% say, it's mild, I don't have any symptoms. They'll read something on Facebook or some social media saying, hey, don't treat it, your diabetologist simply try to make money out of you. Don't listen to him, stop all the treatment. There's nothing called diabetes. There are people who say nothing called diabetes. There's some seniors in the profession, I'm ashamed to say, they keep saying there's nothing called diabetes. It's a fake. There's nothing called diabetes, I mean, it's terrible how these people can, even seasoned professors talking about like, okay, so then half of them don't take treatment. Now, half of them who take the treatment, how many of them are actually under control? Half of them are under control. So you do the math. First of all, 50% gone. Then from there, 50%, another 50% gone. So 28%. From there, another 50% gone. So you actually come down to about 8 to 10% of people in India who have their diabetes under control. So what does it mean? 90% of people are not having their diabetes under control. So why not have a control month to focus when you know COVID is going to hit you? You know that mucormycosis is going to come. Leave alone all that. What about all the old complications of ours? Kidney, eye, heart, feet, amputation, impotence. You can go on and on and on. And what about all that? Is it all going down? See, last year, just like I made this plea for the Diabetes Control Month, November 14th, I don't know whether you know, 2020, World Diabetes Day. Again, I suddenly got a flash. And I said, what are we doing? We're always talking about diabetes-free India, Is it ever going to happen? I don't think so, because 5,000 years ago, we had diabetes, okay? 5,000 years from now also, we'll have diabetes. We'll probably have more, because, as the lifespan increases, you'll have more diabetes. Diabetes is an aging process also. We have diseases of, types of diabetes just due to age. At 60, 80, most people will have diabetes. 80% will have diabetes. So that is, and India's population is increasing. So we are not going to, so that is a good thing. Your economy is increasing, your nutrition is improving, your lifespan is improving. How will diabetes go down? So it's not going to go down. But what you can prevent is the complications of diabetes. So I made another, statement on World Diabetes Day last year, saying we should dream of and aim for a diabetes complications free India. That is possible. Nobody should go blind in India. Nobody should have an amputation. Nobody should have renal failure. Nobody should have a heart attack. Nobody should have an amputation. Nobody should become important. Nobody should have neuropathy, loss of sensation. Nobody should have any complication. Nobody should have ketoacidosis. Nobody should have, severe hypoglycemia. So if this we are able to achieve, that's good enough. Let people live, for next 50, 60, 80 years with diabetes. Doesn't matter. Maybe they'll do better than people without diabetes. So that, for that also, its control is ultimately going to matter, isn't it? The ABCD. And some people told me, it's not that just HbA1c alone, Dr. Mohan. I said, I didn't say glucose control month. I said diabetes control month. Diabetes includes blood pressure, lipids, cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, diet, exercise, healthy lifestyle, and proper sleep, and everything is included in diabetes control and management, not just HbA1c somehow bringing down. That's one of the, so it's A, B, C, D. A for A1c, B for blood pressure, C for cholesterol, D for discipline. Discipline includes diet, exercise, your regular habits, sleeping, this, that, all that. So I think it's very, very important in the context of preventing complications by controlling diabetes.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think that is such a I think that's much more achievable to have a complications-free diabetes than to have a completely negated diabetes. Of course, that would be the dream, like you said, but let's talk about the reality. And again, I think what the entire point about June as control month, it gives people a reminder. And once your sugars are in control, I've seen everything else gets into control as well.
Absolutely.
So it's great.
Because you can't have one and leave the other out, no? If you're going to control it, you'll also increase your exercise. You'll go for your walk. You'll eat a little more salad. You'll cut down on your carbs. You'll do all that. Automatically, it includes everything. Therefore, salt, you won't go and eat too much of salt. You'll reduce it. Then your blood pressure will come down. So everything, your basic discipline will improve when you think of control.
Yes. And I think that's the need of the hour. That's the need of the hour. So talking about type 1 a little bit more specifically now, we always say that type 1 diabetes is not a curable condition, but it is a controllable condition. Again, talking about control. So Dr. Mohan, what can people with type 1 diabetes do to better their control?
So I'm glad you asked that. Probably you've read my thought. I was just thinking when I was talking about, diabetes and prevention, and as you grow older, you'll get it. I was talking only about type 2 diabetes. There is one more thing, and when I said I cannot prevent diabetes, type 1 is a classical example of that. Right now, as we speak, we don't have a prevention. Okay, number one. Number two, we don't have an identifiable cause. If somebody tells me, tell me how I will not get type 1 diabetes. Type 2, I can say, remain thin, start exercising, do this, prevent obesity, look for acanthosis, prevent that, start eating healthy. If you do all that, you can still get type 1 diabetes. So it has nothing to do with your lifestyle, it has nothing to do with anything. It's we don't know even what it comes, why autoimmunity comes, why certain HLA pattern. Maybe you are born with it, you have that HLA pattern which made you more prone. So in short, there is no prevention as of now. There are studies going on. Last 20 years have been going on. We tried nicotinamide, we tried cyclosporin, we tried low dose steroid, we tried low dose insulin. We tried so many things, and trial after trial failed, including GAD, injecting GAD and seeing whether that all that we tried, nothing worked. Okay, number two, can we cure it? As of now, no, because we know people can have a full healthy life. In the US, people have lived for 80, 90 years with diabetes. I think the record is 90 years from the day. So now it's going to be 100 years. So obviously it's 100 years, you should have got diabetes in 1921. And that means you must be 105 years old now. That's a little unlikely. But people, have lived up to 90, 95 years, having shown at least 80, 85 years of diabetes. In India, I know there are people who have finished 60 years of diabetes and doing well. One or two have come close to 70 years. They are also doing well. Now, how did they live? And how did they are, actually the heroes. And they are actually telling us that doesn't matter if you got, exactly as I said, it doesn't matter if you got type 2 diabetes. What are we bothered about? You must have a good life. You should not have complications. So complication-free diabetes is both for type 1 and type 2, by the way. You should not have any trouble, this trouble, now trouble, that trouble. Okay, so you should not have all that. So that's number two. Number three, you must have good quality of life. You shouldn't be having pain, this, that, I'm not able to join problem, that problem, this problem. You don't have all that. So you're able to have a good quality of life. Number four, you can still enjoy your life and do whatever. For example, you want to, get a job, you can go for your job. Okay. You choose to get married, well, you can get married. You want to get a child, you can get a child. You want to take part in sport, you can take part in sport. You want to
Dance,
run a
dance,
big corporation, dance, you want to dance
dance.
and become another jazz city, you want to become, you can, and anything, you just name it in life. And you want to become a writer, you want to become a poet, you want to become a author, you want to become an actor, you want to become whatever, whatever is your ambition in life, that should not be stopped by diabetes. Okay.
Yes.
In any way, it should not. In fact, it should trigger you to go higher. I've got this and therefore I will do it. That's the spirit. And I'm sure people can do that. I mean, it's not rhetoric. It's not rhetoric saying, oh, just to make you feel good, we're saying what. People like yourself and many others are actually living examples of how, see, how many people 10, 15 years ago will even come on a show like this? Let me ask you. They'll hide it. No, don't tell. This is thing. Now here we are, people coming out, becoming champions, guiding people, inspiring people, taking them along, forming groups, learning from each other, good practice of each other, helping each other. And the whole movement now is by the community of people with type 1 diabetes, all proving that it is no longer a taboo. It is no longer something which you should be ashamed of or something that you should be afraid of. You can achieve anything in life. People are climbing mountains, they're climbing this, they're climbing this, anything, you name it, world champions, Olympic champions, cricketers from Wasim Akram to, you name it. In every field, we have got the best musicians, the best everywhere. You have got people with type 1 diabetes who are excelling. And India itself is a good example of how many of people like yourself have done that. So again, coming back, but all this is not possible without controlling diabetes. You tell me one type 1 who didn't control at all, did nothing and achieved all this, somewhere along the line, something will hit them. Either decay will hit them, or infections will hit them, or their short stature itself. They will not even grow properly as a child if you have not taken insulin properly. Yeah. Then early, the kidney failure will set in quite early. If you survive that, then the kidney complications will set in. Or if you survive that, then the food complications will set in. Something or the other. We are seeing both ends of the spectrum, by the way. We are seeing people who within 5, 10, 15 years, everything gone down the drain, and too late, lost vision already, blind in both eyes because of diabetes, and nothing we can do about it. At the same time, we have also got people who have showing that 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, they're going on and on and on. Like cricket, you hit century and then you're ready for your second century and third century and so on. So there is no limit to it. So I think we should, people like you should be an example for the other people. There's so much, of course, there are a lot of reasons. Some of them is just lack of education, lack of, lack of support from the parents, because the parents just give up. Oh, this child, the pain for me. So that's where we should come in and try to help. And so I think we should give a positive picture and work towards everyone having that. Diabetes should not stand in your way, and everybody should, should aim for that 100 years of good quality life.
And get that gold medal, which you have promised me, Dr. Mohan.
It's coming.
So I think I really just want to point out to all the type 1s watching what Dr. Mohan said. Firstly, about it cannot be prevented. Okay, so that self-blaming of, oh, I wish I had less chocolate as a child should be out of the window. Second thing about control can keep you healthy for the long time. So Dr. Mohan, we really talk about in all our groups about importance of monitoring. You can't do diabetes in the dark. And I think I found this for type 2 more than type 1. Type 1 still I know check because they have to check because they have me. With type 2, I've seen that there is an ignorance towards monitoring. So what would be your thoughts and message to whoever's watching with diabetes about the importance of monitoring?
See, if you don't monitor your sugar and you have diabetes, and particularly if it's type 1 or insulin requiring type 2, the perfect example for that would be you blindfold yourself, okay, completely, can't see anything. Now you get into the car, start it and drive, okay.
Wow, I love it.
You can imagine what's going to happen, So monitoring is like a goalpost. Is it low? Is it high? It's like a road. There's a median. At the side it is there. and you can't go on the right side of the road if you're supposed to drive on the left side of the road. You've got certain rules on the road, and for that you have to see, for that your vision should be perfect. You should be looking at it correctly. You should be looking at your speedometer. You're looking at so many things you have to do in your driving. Type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes, for that matter, is the same. You can't, just take insulin and assume that your sugars are normal. It may be very high. It may be very low. We know that diabetes is asymptomatic. You don't get symptoms of the low sugar. Also, it will come only when you're about to get into coma for some people. And some people have autonomic neuropathy. They will not get it at all. Again, high sugar, you can easily walk around with 300, 400 blood sugar and not know it at all. And people think the lab is wrong first, and they would not tell them it's 350. No, the lab is wrong first. Then only we have to convince them by putting a drop and showing them, see, now it is this so much. What do you say? So, I didn't test for a long time. So that is where not only the sugars, both before food, after food, at different times of the day, that also people don't know. They, for many years, because people go to a lab or a diabetic center and morning fasting, they check. Many labs don't even do the postprandial. Our centers don't do the postprandial. Now, okay, fasting, postprandial. Then came HbA1c. So they got some idea, okay, 3 months control is there. And so that also came. But they don't know that after lunch is there, before dinner is there, after dinner is there, 3 a.m. is there. All those blood sugars, they don't know. So if you are using the old-fashioned method of doing SMBG, then at least once in a week, you keep checking your glucose and write it down at different times of the day. Then you know what is the fluctuation. Is it within a particular, or is it going up and down like this? Because variability itself is not good. Too much of glucose variability itself, that MAGE we call it, mean amplitude glycemic variation. If that's going excursion, if that's going very, very high, that's not good for you. And that you will not know unless you test. And so for that, that's very good. Today, with this CGM which has come, it's become so easy. There it is. So you don't have to. So people with type 1, of course, can wear it continuously. If you can afford it, you can wear it continuously. Type 2 people can wear it intermittently. In fact, we have written a paper on intermittent glucose testing. Dr. Banshisa Bune have written a paper on this, and we send it off for publication. So we are saying even use it once in 3-4 months, but use it for 2 weeks for type 2s who are not on insulin or whatever. You get that trend. If you find some abnormality, fix it. Then after 3 months, again, whether it is okay. Okay. So we have given guidelines. There's no guidelines how to use it. We've written the guidelines saying how you do it, when you do it, how you interpret it. So those kind of things. So it's become very easy now. So you've got the sugars, fasting and postprandial or preprandial, postprandial. Then you've got HbA1c and you've got the time and rate. These 4, not all of them all the time, but even intermittently, if you keep, you'll get an idea. It's like a goalpost. So now you're seeing the road, you're seeing the speed limit, you're seeing the car if it's going correctly, you're seeing the median, you're seeing everything, and safely your journey as a diabetic, can go very nicely. The person with diabetes can go very smoothly. Without monitoring, I think it's very foolish to try to do that, and you're going to get into trouble at some point.
Yeah. I absolutely love that analogy about blindfolded driving. That's exactly how it is. If you're not checking your sugars and just taking insulin, depending on whatever you feel, it doesn't work. So again, pulling it back a little bit to type 1 again, it is obvious that for a person with type 1, control cannot come without insulin, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely.
So to all our type 1s watching and their parents watching, we have found there's been a hesitancy or a fear towards insulin. Fake news happening here and there, the fear of insulin, fear of injectables. Your message to them about importance of how control can come only and only with insulin.
So I tell people that for type 1 diabetes, actually there are 3 treatments for diabetes. 3. First is insulin, second is insulin, third is insulin.
I love it.
So 3 definite treatments you have: insulin, 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 and there's no more. There's only 3. Okay. Now, in the 100th year of insulin, when Banting and Best, remember, it was on May 15th that Banting and Best started their experiments, 1921. In June, they were struggling. They had not got a single dog under control. That again, this diabetes control is linked to what I mentioned, because in June, they really did not get a single dog under control. It was in July that the first dog they got under control. And dog 390 or something like that. So they got that dog under control. It was in July 30th that they actually announced, saying, hey, we got the sugars down. They had not slept the previous day, and they went and saw the sugar had dropped. And of course, they had very crude extracts, and the dog didn't even last long. It died. But they were able to prove that they got it. Then, of course, all the purifications came. January 22nd, 1922, Leonard Thompson got his first shot, and then the rest is history. 23, they got the Nobel Prize. Now, In the 100th year of insulin, a sobering thought, which I think every child or adult with type 1 diabetes and their relatives, including their parents or spouses or whoever is there, a sobering thought that they should, it's a fact, is that had I been born 100 years earlier, I would have been dead in 3 months' time. You know, the average lifespan is 3 months. With extreme starvation, when you starved yourself to death, literally, you could live for 6 months, 1 year. 2 years was kind of almost unheard of. And then most people just kind of disappeared. They became skin and bone, and
Yeah.
they just kind of went into a coma and finally died. Very horrible, pathetic kind of a death, worse than the worst cancer that you have today. That's the
Wow.
kind of death that child. Now, it's very sobering that when you think about it, in 100 years, one discovery by a group of people, in the most, unexpected of people, like very eccentric Banting, and then a medical student who hardly knew anything in his second year, best, and then a professor who was holidaying in Scotland, not believing that these guys will do anything, and then finally a chemist who comes in and helps to purify it. His job is only to purify, call him. So these four most unlikely. Do you know that Banting and McLeod, his boss, don't have a single photograph together? Banting
Wow.
refused. Banting refused to go. He said, "I will not have a picture with this man because he didn't help me. Only Best helped me." The fights and the thing. It's a big story. You should read the whole story. It's fascinating. I've read it so many times. So the other thing was that when the Nobel Prize was announced, Banting refused. He said, "I'm not going to go because it was given to Banting and McLeod. Best is left out." So he said,
Oh,
"Best out, so I'm not going. I'm not going to know." Then they beg him and say, "This is Canada's first Nobel Prize. First. And you have got him. He's the youngest Nobel Prize winner in the history of Nobel
wow.
Prize." So they said, if you refuse it, Canada is going to get the first only chance they had to get a Nobel Prize. They haven't got too many, by the way. This is one of the few that they got. So they said, this is also gone. So for Canada's sake, you go. At least you accept. So he said, okay, I'll accept. Then when an actual function came, he said, I'm not going. I'm not going to Stockholm. Then they said, he didn't go to get his Nobel Prize. So I said
Wow.
he's eccentric. So
Yeah.
they finally said, why you won't go? I'll be asked to stand there for a photograph with McLeod. And so I'm not going to stand. So because of that one thing, you should not take photograph with McLeod. They'll definitely make them stand. So he said, I'm not going. So then McLeod felt very bad because the whole discovery is by Banting and Best. Of course, he had helped a lot. He had taught them how to do the experiment. He had taught them so many tips he has done. He had played his role, but Banting refused to acknowledge it. The Banting
Wow.
said, Banting is so, pig-headed. He said, no, I'm not going to acknowledge. That guy did nothing for me. It is so short-tempered. So then finally, McLeod also didn't go. He said, how can I go without Banting? Discover. So both of them didn't go. It was just announced there, saying that they got Nobel Prize. Why I'm saying all this just happened 100 years ago, and that
Yeah.
one can change the whole of history. Now, after 100 years, if you say take herbal medicine, take this one, that one, are you going to set the clock back 100 years? You think we didn't have all those herbs at that time? What happened? Why were children dying of type 1 diabetes all over the world? And what are those magical herbs that we know that can replace insulin? Give it. We'll give it, and we'll give it to our children. Why are we not? I'll start a factory for that herbs, or I'll start a side business for that. So we don't have it. If you don't have it, then why should you even talk about it? And when you're not, when you know that it's not true, how can people mislead people and
Yeah.
take them out from inside? I'm saying this with a lot of emotion because many of the children whom I have picked up from different places, they were not able to afford insulin. I brought them into the system. I gave them free insulin, gave free treatment, free everything. And then one fine day the child dies. And then when I asked the parents, why didn't you come for insulin? Oh, we child died. Oh, child died? No, no, no. They said some guy said some herbal treatment. If you take insulin, you'll get cancer. If you take insulin, you'll get kidney problem. If you get insulin, you'll get lung problem. If you get insulin, you'll get this, that. So we believed him and we took this. I said, how many times did I tell you? You have murdered your child. That guy has murdered his child, your child. And what are we all living here for? If this is going to happen, and this should be considered equal to a murder. If somebody knows that there's no treatment and then you give a treatment where there is no treatment and then the child dies, it is willful, willful murder, I would say. taking a child away. If you've got something to prove it and you've taken the child away, you'll get another Nobel Prize for it, and we'll stop giving
Exactly.
it and we'll give something else to them. We are all waiting for that day. But until then, in the 100th year of insulin, please don't do this. It's a greatest. I mean, I even went to the extent of saying Banting, Best, and Collip and MacLeod will all turn in their grave if you show all their lives they spent. And then if they ever came back now in 2021, 100th year, they may be around here somewhere, and seeing
Yeah.
how unhappy they will be. We did all this, and Banting didn't even take the good side of Banting is he didn't even take $1 for it. In fact,
Yeah.
he gave away his rights for $1, and he joked later that even that $1 he never got. He gave it to University of Toronto, saying I shouldn't. He could have become a very rich man. He didn't
Yeah.
do that. So he gave it away to University of Toronto for $1 on paper, and that $1 was never given to him. So he said, even that $1 I never got. So that is how much sacrifice they have all done to
Yeah.
get to where we are today. And today we're talking of people living their full lifespan, almost up to 100 years of age. And now that one thing that you have, you take it away from people, saying, no, it is bad. It is what bad? 100 years, what has insulin done? If you take too much of it, you may get a little hypoglycemia, or you may put on some weight unless you do exercise properly. Beyond that, what is it? In the good old days, at least you could say some allergy came or something came. I used to treat allergy by giving desensitization. I've been around for 50 years. So I
Yeah.
used to give, bovine insulin, it'll produce a reaction. Then we'll start giving little steroid, giving desensitization, treating people. Today, with the insulins, the human insulin analogs and all, no allergy, no lipodystrophy, nothing is there. Insulin is the safest of all safe things. It's a hormone produced by the body. It's produced in your own body. It's the same thing we're replacing. And then people say, will I get addicted to insulin? I said, how can you get addicted? You can get addicted to ganja, you can get addicted to alcohol, you can get addicted to smoking, you can get addicted to all kinds of tobacco or whatever. How can you get addicted to something will you get addicted to food? If
Exactly.
3 times a day, I'll get addicted to food. So I'll stop eating. If I breathe every day, I'll get addicted to oxygen and air.
Oxygen.
If I drink water every day, I'll get addicted to water. So I'll stop water also, because otherwise I'll get addicted. No, I'll have to drink water every day. If I brush my teeth every day, will I get addicted to brushing? So I'll stop brushing also. If I sleep every day, I'll get addicted to sleep. So I'll stop sleep also. Nothing I should get addicted to. It's something like that. It's part of your life. So why are you talking about addiction? And I get very angry when people talk about addiction and so on. So I say, don't use these words. These are all forbidden words. You should not even use all this. You're
Yeah.
replacing. If you're for a thyroid deficiency, you give thyroid is an addiction. If for a vitamin D deficiency, you give vitamin D, is it an addiction? For a B12 deficiency, you give B12, is that an addiction? You've got a deficiency in the body. For hemoglobin is low and you give iron, is it an addiction? You're giving that to replace something in the body. And here you've got deficiency of insulin or even total lack of insulin. You're replacing it. The only thing is we haven't found a better way to give it without injecting it.
Correct.
There are ways of delivering it we have found, but still it has to go through the skin as we
Yeah.
speak. We are still trying to find out whether it can come in oral form, nasal form, this form, that form, pulmonary form. So many things we are trying. We failed. So far we haven't. Next Nobel Prize has to come where in some other way we detect that. Or
Yeah.
producing beta cells through stem cell. See, every diabetic type 1, who newly diagnosed in the last 1 or 2 months, people will call me from all over India and say type 1 diabetes. The only reason they want to talk to me is, where can I go for that stem cell treatment? I said, you can't go anywhere. No. I heard stem cell is cured. I said, please tell me the address of that stem cell patient, person, and I'll send all my patients there. Or I'll start it, in my own hospital. I'll start. Then they won't be knowing that, but they're very sure. They'll say, no. I'm sure that, stem
Yeah.
cell will cure type 1. And I know of cases. Tell me, give me the address of 2 cases that you have seen that have, been cured. Then they're not able to. But see, with half-baked knowledge through social media and all that, people are being diverted away and being told insulin is bad. He gave you insulin, as if it's the biggest thing. Mohan gave you insulin. My God, he gave you poison, kind of a thing. So.
I love it. No, but I think what you're saying is so true. And I know I can see on the chat there's so many type 1s watching and their parents are watching. I hope that Dr. Mohan has cleared out superbly for you that insulin is safe. It's the only thing that's going to keep you alive. It's the only thing, as we celebrate June as Diabetes Control Month, it's the only thing that can for a type 1 that will be able to control your sugar. So do not go for WhatsApp forwards. Do not go for half-baked knowledge. Do not try other messages, because what he said is right. 100 years ago, there was still all that Ayurveda herbal alternatives. It didn't work. So what's working, let's respect that. Let's appreciate that. Let's be grateful for that, and let's accept that.
Correct. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Mohan, a last question before we sort of start winding up is that
Yeah.
if all my type ones are watching over here, I know I can see them. Is that if you had like just like a cheat sheet for control, what would be the few things on the cheat sheet that a type 1 should do every day to stay in control?
First thing is, I think, I would say first thing is have a photograph of Banting and McLeod, which they never got together. Put that photograph together and have it in your room. Banting, best.
I'm doing it today only.
Yeah, put the 4 photographs there, because they are like your God, but for them, you won't be alive today, So whichever God's picture you put and all that, you put these 4 guys also and say, thanks to you, I'm alive. So say one namaste to them every day and thank them, So that's the first thing which every person with type 1 diabetes to do. Number 2, tell yourself that diabetes is not going to affect anything in my life. Nothing negative is going to come. I am going to have a long and healthy life despite diabetes. Tell this mantra to yourself every day. I believe that positive affirmation makes things come true. Somehow nature kind of conjures itself and makes it come true. That's the basis of 2 or 3 books I've written and other articles. So that is something which you should tell yourself. Number 3, that aim to get the best possible control that you can get for yourself. Not all type 1s are the same. There is a lot of difference between one type 1 and another. And so if 7 is your best control, get that. If 6 is your best control, get that. If only 7.5 you're able to get, beyond that you're going to hypos, your quality of life is not good, so be it. Try that. But don't settle at 10, 11 and say that is my control. No. There's something wrong. Somewhere something wrong. We can definitely aim. If it is 11, make it 10. If it's 10, make it 9. If it's 9, make it 8. Then we'll try for 7.5. Then slow and steady, we'll work on it. There's somewhere something can be done to improve. There is nothing other than testing. So testing has to be done. If you're one who hates testing, then select certain days for testing. Okay, always if you feel unusually some giddiness or something, then test it at that time. That's an emergency that can save your life. But apart from that also, either you can have decreased testing if you want to do, because you don't want to poke yourself. You do, say, Monday you do before breakfast, after breakfast. Tuesday you do before lunch, after lunch. Wednesday you do before dinner, after dinner. Thursday or Friday night you set the alarm, and on Saturday morning or Sunday morning you get up 3 a.m. and then check your sugar. Or even once a month you do 3 a.m. Get up in that. So you've covered everything. Write it down in a systematic manner. Try to get it into some kind of a software if possible. Get it on your phone also if possible. Send it to your doctor. Arrange it nicely for a doctor so that he will know or she will know how exactly you're getting on. Make that, find out which are the points where you're not under control. Somewhere in the day it's going very high. Fix that. That's a pain point. So fix that particular thing. If possible, once in a way, at least do CGM. If you're able to do it regularly, do it. Some of you can afford to do it continuously. That's fine. Then you don't even need much of this. Only for some emergency you use it. Otherwise, you can depend on this. Very reliable. So that also. HbA1c 3 to 4 times in a year, so that you get a track of what is happening. With these fluctuations, the blood sugar is very difficult unless you have an average also. So one is not competing with the other. Sugars are not competing with HbA1c. HbA1c is not competing with CGM. All are important. So HbA1c will also tell you where you are, because HbA1c, the value of that is, we know that 7 cut point was not picked out of thin air. We know that that's where the complications start. The more you go above 7, for every 1%, there's a 25 to 30% increase in eye disease, kidney disease, nerve disease. So every 1% lowering also helps to reduce the risk. So that is the next thing that you should do. Be reasonably good with your diet. We're not saying, I like this, badam halwa, or one gulab jamun. Without that, I cannot. So I keep telling people, right from, because the parents sometimes are very, very strict and they don't understand. Oh, my child ate one gulab jamun. I say, see, your child is now. Go back in history, not 5 years, 10 years, not 1,000 years. Go back to Adam and Eve. God came and told them, don't eat that particular apple. That particular apple only they ate, So from your ancestors, it is like that. So why are you blaming this child now? Every human beings have been like that from eternity, and God knows human beings will not listen to. So therefore, when it has been like that, why you think your child is very special? So why don't you allow your child to have, okay, you want gulab jamun, have it once a month. I'll get you a good gulab jamun, not even with sweetener or anything. I'll give you the thing. But talking about sweeteners are not bad, by the way. There's another impression given: sweeteners are bad, sweeteners produce cancer, sweeteners produce this. Even when I give talks, people argue with me because
Oh,
the
wow.
feeling is so strong in
Yeah.
even social media. They tell me that you are wrong. I said, okay, it will produce cancer. I said, show me how many cases produce cancer. Well, immediately tell them, show me one case, show me two cases of produce cancer. No, I have heard. You have heard, but I'm telling you, I'm not heard. I've been practicing for 50 years and I've not seen cancer. That's why I'm telling you. There's not one single human cancer reported due to artificial sweetness in the whole of my 50 years of my all my reading that I have. Not one case in the whole world. So what cancer are you talking about? If you like the sweetener, take it. So in moderation, it's good. If you put too much of it, it has all other taste and aftertaste and all that. So that is the only reason we should not take. So sweeteners are good, but occasionally you can take this. Also have a regular discipline. Go
Yeah.
to bed on time, get up on time, take your insulin on time, take your meals on time, and get into a habit of regular checking. So you have to follow a disciplined life. I think a disciplined person will do much better in life with diabetes, without diabetes. Always a
True.
disciplined person will do well because you won't forget. Suppose
Yeah.
today you check in the morning, tomorrow you check some other time, and then third day you'll forget when to check. So you will completely forget. You have a discipline and say, this is what I'll do. Monday I'll do this, Tuesday I'll do this. Somewhat regimented it is, but it's like an
Correct.
army. The army is so successful because they're regimented. They know what this guy will do, what that guy will do, what that guy. So that is like your life should be regimented. At the
Yeah.
same time, enjoy yourself. Don't think negative things and get on with your life. Share. Now today, 20 years ago, we didn't have any such foundations or anything for people to get together. They were all scared. They were not even talking to each other. Today, it's changed. The situation has completely changed. That's where probably social media and other things have helped a lot. So all of you are bound together. Then you'll realize that you're not alone. The same problem you have, somebody else has also got. And what helps most is somebody who's senior, who talking about it. I've heard, Harsh Kohli, do this so beautifully.
Yeah.
Whenever I have a problem, somebody not accepting, I'll tell Harsh, why don't you just talk to, this type 1 family? Then when they hear that, he has got, but he has managed and so on, I'm just giving an example, they feel so much better. So coming, because sometimes people ask me, when I tell them, hey, insulin is not a big deal, yeah, you can take it. Then they'll turn around and ask me, Dr. Mohan, do you have diabetes?
True.
No, I don't have diabetes. You're not type 1, no? No, I'm not type 1. Have you taken insulin regularly? No. Then shut up. Don't talk. They'll say, you don't know how difficult it is. I said, yeah. I mean, I don't have that qualification. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't have it. So I can't tell you that, I've taken myself. All I can say is I've given myself insulin. I know what it is. That much I know. But I don't take it every day because I don't need it. I can only
Yeah.
tell you from others. But when somebody with diabetes talks to them, then people are willing to listen.
Absolutely.
Yes, I find some small questions here. Can we have a rapid fire of these?
Yes.
Seeing
There
it in
are,
the chat column. Shall we
we
quickly
have
take
quite a lot of questions.
quick answers? Try to give. One is Kameshwari. Does dry fruits like almonds, walnut increase triglyceride and sugar level? I'd like to call them nuts, Kameshwari, rather than dry fruits, because almonds and walnuts are really nuts. So we have done research on almonds, on pistachio, on cashew. Cashew has been published. The other two are now under publication. They don't increase triglycerides, they don't increase LDL, they don't increase sugar, they don't increase the weight also. Okay, they actually increase the HDL cholesterol, which is good for you, and there's no effect on the weight, and it decreases the blood pressure. Even cashew, it decreases the blood pressure by 2 to 4 millimeters. So actually, it is very good for you to take it. Of course, they contain calories that you must know, so they're not bad at all. I go for all tests. My sugars control. If I go to Dr. Mohan's Hyderabad, I don't take sugar. Okay, good. So keep it up. Divya Paranami, how can we manage type 1? We discussed that. Then GAD antibody positive more than 2000, fasting C peptide, drastic weight loss confirms LADA or type 1. LADA can manage with, so depends on the age, Shahi, Masum, Reza. If your age is above 30, we call it as LADA. If you are a younger age group, we call it as type 1. To me, LADA is only a form first of type 1. It takes a little more time. That's why it's called latent autoimmune diabetes of adult. Latent, it's hidden for 6 months. Type 1 is not hidden at all. First week you'll know. But in LADA, first 6 months you'll respond to tablet, then you get fooled, and then suddenly the sugar goes up, ketosis comes, GAD will become positive. So that is LADA. But otherwise, it's the same way we treat. Kameshwari does drive, that's over. Kiran.
Is there any permanent solution for diabetes?
From the perspective, incident-free life. Okay, that's Kiran. Thank you, Kiran. Mustafa, is there no permanent solution type 1 diabetes? After hearing all that I have said, don't again talk about permanent solution. It will come. It will come. Okay. Only question of Mustafa, when it will come. If I find it out, I'll get my Nobel Prize before I kick the bucket. Somebody else will find it and they'll get the Nobel Prize. I hope somebody finds it. And someday there will be a permanent cure, but we don't have it today. Let's accept the facts. Okay. When somebody tells you there is, don't believe them. They're lying. So don't believe them. Little princess, I'm taking human insulin. Apidra, is it good? All insulins are good. TSH 10.8, you've got hypothyroidism, needs to be treated. Fasting blood sugar 204 is not controlled. Little princess, get it under control. Do you do session on thyroid and type 1? We treat thyroid. It's not a big thing. What is DIP plan for? What's DIP?
I also don't know.
I don't know. Ritika, you tell me. I don't know. Many things in life, you teach me. My sugar was 36 before 45 minutes.
Oh,
hey, I hope you took a sweet. You deserve a sweet. Manasvi. Okay, what is your take on pancreatic transplant? It's good. But where do you get the pancreas from? That's the whole problem. Nothing wrong with pancreas transplant. Unfortunately or fortunately, God gave us only one pancreas. He gave 2 kidneys. I wish He'd given 2 pancreas. Then you can give off one to everyone and cure every type 1 person. But He gave only one. He decided when we reach Him, we'll ask Him, why you forgot to put one more pancreas in? I could have given so many type 1s, and cured them. So it's difficult. And actually, you need 2 pancreas to cure one type 1. So 2 people ready to die, giving off their pancreas, and then that guy ready to receive it. These are all challenges which are not easy. I think about 10 have been done in India. I don't know how long they're successful. Very, very expensive. You have to take immunosuppressants throughout life. Insulin is better than taking those immunosuppressants. Jalaja, your sense of humor.
I agree with this.
Thank you.
Agree with this point.
Thank you, Jalaja. Can type 1 shift to oral drugs at any age? Rachna, you've not been listening. Big no. One word answer, no. Suchitra, dear sir, which kind of blood test we need to do? I told you, no. Fasting, postprandial, even postprandial, maybe you can first get your before food sugars under control. But also once in a year, check your urea, creatinine, microalbuminuria, lipids, liver function. You never know what will go wrong. So once in a year, get a whole, including eyes, everything. Fundus, eye, nerve, foot, everything. Which kind of blood? Okay. How close are we to a diabetes cure? This close. This close. But you know what? In 1970, when I started my practice, people said by the end of the decade, there will be a cure for type 1 diabetes. So I used to say, by the end of this decade, there will be type 1. Then 80s came. Then they said, by the end of this decade, there will be. So I said, okay. 90s came. End of this decade. 2000 came. End of this decade. End of this decade. Years I've been saying it. So we are that close, so near, and yet so far, So we have to get another Banting to come, one Banting will be born somewhere and he will find the cure. Don't worry. I'm not that Banting, unfortunately. How close? What is the precaution to take for going low at night? Yeah, adjust your insulin dose, test and see, take some carb at night, and check your fasting, check 3 a.m., adjust your dose, take insulins which don't suddenly go low. Today we have got Degludec and long-acting insulins, U300 of Glargine. Those kind of insulins are very slow in their action. So you won't get hypoglycemia. Whereas you use the old NPH and all, definite to get hypoglycemia because the moment you increase the dose, you'll get hypoglycemia. So these longer ones which are much safer, the analogs, they will do very well. Before food, 140, is it good? Depends on what it was earlier. If it was 340, 140 is good. If it was only 150, you can aim slowly. Now make it 130. Then aim for 120, then make it 100. I'll never see. It's like saying, yeah, I'm a child, studying in some 10th standard or something. I used to get only 60% mark. Now I've got 80. Is it good? If I'm your teacher, I'll say, well, 90 is better than 80. Try for 90. If you get 90, then they'll ask me. I'll say 95 is better. No, let's try for 95. In fact, I want to tell you a story and then I'll finish. So I went, for my when I was in school, I was a topper, and they were expecting me to get a state rank because my school had never got a state rank, and I
Wow.
studied in Mary's Catholic school, Irish school, and that school had never got a state rank for as long as I could remember. So I was a big hope. And I wasn't very good
You
in
are the
math.
Paddington of Canada. The Canada
Sorry.
never got a Nobel Prize. Same way.
So something like that. So I was actually. So my father was an Irish. The principal is an Irish father, Father White. 29 years he was a principal of our school. Very nice man. So he started from the last. We had the final exam coming up, model exam over, and then we're going for the final exam 1 month later. Okay, or 2 months later. So he called from the last. Some guy got zero or not. He called him, hey, you're going to do well. Yeah, come on, you're going to pass. 35 is not, that's 35 is possible. 35, you're getting 35. I'm telling you, you'll get 35. That comes out smiling. He's got zero and he's coming out smiling. I'll get 35. Then went like that. Third guy comes out and he's also beaming. Then the second guy goes, and he comes out beaming and all. No, I'm going. I'm the first. I'm walking in like that. And I go in, father sitting like this.
Oh.
Very bad. Very bad. Very bad. I said, what, father? I've come first in the class. Very, very disappointed with you. Very, very disappointed. I said, why are you disappointed, father? I've come first. What's your mark in maths? What's your mark? You got 80? Is that a mark? Are you ashamed to get 80? I said, father, but I came first. What's your mark in maths? Aren't you ashamed? I started crying,
Oh.
And then the whole class waiting. Mohan is going to come out. Everybody, I'm coming crying. What happened? I said, he scolded me.
Because I came first with Lord.
The guy who had come third was very good in maths. He had got some 98 or 99 or something. He only told me one thing. Let me tell you one thing, Mohan. Now I'm telling you, you will never beat that boy in mathematics. I'll write and give it to you. Go, get up. He said. I was like, what does this man want? I'm 80. I know it's my maths, my bad subject, this, that, and all. That day onwards, I started, maths tuition, this, that, Then my only aim was to beat that guy in maths. Okay. Nothing else in life. Only one thing when meet that guy in maths I must beat, because he said I can never do it. Finally, what happened? He got some 96 or something. I got 98. I got in the thing, some mistake he made. Finally, I beat him. So I walked in. What do you say? You say, and I got my state rank also. Okay. So I went into what did you say? I can't beat him. You saw his map? You saw my map? What happened? He said, you fell for it. He said, you fell for it. He said, what fell for it? I knew that's the only way. I know he has no chance of getting a state rank. You are our only hope to get state rank. If you got 80 in maths, you will never get a state rank. That is why that day I told you, I knew I fooled you. And then I said, this is, the way to, so why I'm saying, if somebody gets 80, don't be satisfied, don't be satisfied. So we want, if you get 7, why not 6.5? Why not 6.8? Always keep trying, because excellence, making excellence a habit. That's it. That's my book. And so there's no limit to it. There's no limit. You go set the bar higher and higher. If you got something, try something higher. Something nobody has done. The whole world is there waiting. Sky is not the limit. You can do so much more, And so these are all things which I learned from school. And he fooled me completely. And all my classmates, he's coming out crying. All these days, the guy got zero coming out, happy. I'm standing first in the class, coming out crying. He did it so well. He fooled me completely. Very bad.
Oh, wow. I think this is a story that we take on with us.
So imagine somebody having type 1 diabetes who's now reached, let's say, 7.5. If I tell them, oh, fantastic, 7. Next year I'm going 8.5. I'd say, no. I think you should try for 7. I think you're capable of doing it. So I think the same principles in life, sometimes using a little threat, sometimes using a little drama, sometimes using something else. But all that, is very necessary to help people achieve their best. If you had not told me that, I would not. If you had just said, you did very well, I'd have got probably 80, I would have not got this. And his chance of getting the state rank would have gone. His school strike, that was amazing. So.
Oh, what a story. What a story. Too good. Too good. Oh, wow. I think a few more questions, same kind of nature.
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah.
I have a quick rapid fire for you, Dr. Mohan. These are just options. I'm just going to say this or that. You select one. These are completely random, some medical related, some random. Okay. Human insulin or analog insulin? Your preference.
Analog if they can afford it.
Totally. Idli or dosa?
Idli because no oil.
I also like idli more.
Preference is dosa. My preference is dosa, but I'm talking about from the health point of view. Okay. My preference is
Um,
dosa. Yeah.
Twitter or Facebook?
Twitter.
Twitter.
Mostly.
Summer or winter?
Winter in
Winter
India. In
in
India.
India. True.
Abroad is summer.
Virtual conferences or real conferences?
Real. Absolutely
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. And lastly, because you brought this up, Banting or Micloid?
Banting, no doubt about it. He is my hero. For all his eccentricities, I love him. I've read every
Totally.
book about him. Yeah.
Oh, this has been such a wonderful
Did
session.
not discover insulin, and but for Matthew did not even believe Banting. He never believed. He wouldn't have gone on holiday if he believed that he'll do. He thought just 2 months I'm giving the lab to him, and these guys are going to draw a blank. In fact, he asked him. So many big scientists. Banting had not even read the literature. He had not
Wow.
read any articles on. He didn't know the spelling of diabetes. That's the best part. If you read his book, in the night he gets a dream. It's a vision. It's purely God's grace. Some vision he gets in the night where he says tie the pancreatic. He takes a piece of paper and he writes that. In that he writes diabetus, Diabetus. I keep joking to my fellows. See, we all read so much about diabetes. McLeod had read so much about diabetes. Finally, a guy who didn't know the spelling of diabetes, orthopedic surgeon discovered insulin. So it is.
Wow,
He's
what a guy.
He's born for that. And even after that, he did nothing. In medicine, he did nothing after that. He
Oh,
tried
that
all.
was it. I
That is
think
it.
he deserved
tried.
it.
He deserved. That's it. After that, he took to painting and became a famous painter. He was amongst Canada's 6, topmost. They called Club of 7 or Club of 6 or something. The most famous painters of Canada. Banting is there as one of the big
Wow.
painters. So you can see he's not an
Multi-talented
ordinary guy. He's an ordinary guy. Yeah.
Oh no, this has been absolutely stunning. What a wonderful, fun, lively session with you, Dr. Mohan. I've enjoyed thoroughly. And one thing I'm going to take away from this personally, and this is for all my type 1s also watching, is that if someone says, try this is worked. What Dr. Mohan says, show me. Show me that person.
Show me the proof.
That should be my line.
Like the
I love
Americans say, show me the money. Show me the
Yeah.
money. So like that,
Show
show me
me
the proof. Show me the proof and read it. And you will find there are so many bogus journals today. All paid stuff are there. You pay $1,000, they'll publish any trash for you. Those kind of trash journals they'll get published, and they'll have a high-sounding name, International Journal of Diabetes and something. It'll be all in his house. He'll be preparing it, and so don't go by all that. Check it out. Check it out. See, on social media now we immediately check, that's true or false, fake or not. Like that, do your checkup, then do more research on it, because you're harming yourself. I don't have anything. You go and try something and then you get damaged. Then you don't come to me and say, I tried this. I told you so many times. And then if you still go and do that, it's suicidal. So remember, it's your own body that you're experimenting with. Get opinions from different people, from experts, and then do it. We only mean the best for you. I mean, if you get cured of diabetes, you think I'll have one patient less and therefore I don't want to. That's what people say in fake media. In fact, there's one guy who goes around and says you eat 3 mangoes a day or 4 mangoes a day and your diabetes will be cured. It's very popular on video, on social media. 4 mangoes every day and your diabetes will be cured. And he says, don't ask your diabetologist. He will say no, because he's scared he'll lose a patient, because your diabetes will be cured and you won't go back to him, and therefore he'll tell you not to take it. So things like this, use common sense. Use common sense.
Exactly.
Use your own thing, and then if there is something which is thing, tell us. We are all students. We are still learning. After 50 years, you think I know everything about diabetes. I know nothing. So waiting to learn. I'm waiting to learn more and more. And I learn from all of you. From all of you, I learn. And we always believe. My teachers taught me, listen to the patient. Patient is always right. So listen to the patient. So if patient tells us a particular symptom or something, we don't take it lightly. We say, oh, is that true? Even if it's the first time I'm hearing it, well, maybe there are 100 more like him or her who has the same thing. So.
No, amazing. Thank you so much for your time, your experience, your stories, your anecdotes. It's been absolutely a baller. This session has been the best. I cannot emphasize on that enough. And for everyone out there, June is Diabetes Control Month. Dr. Mohan, not just for this year, I think every year
Every year. Okay.
to be Diabetes Control Month. So thank you for celebrating, thank you for initiating it, and thank you for your wisdom. And
Thank
everyone,
you.
thank you.
Stay safe and all the very best.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
I'll sign off now.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.